The trade war between the United States and China has spiraled into something few expected, a full-blown agricultural crisis. What began as a political standoff has now left millions of American farmers trapped in an economic storm they didn't create. Across the Midwest, fields that once symbolized prosperity now stand as quiet reminders of what's been lost. Grain silos overflow with soybeans, milk is being dumped, and corn shipments that were supposed to head overseas are stranded at ports. This was supposed to be a season of profit. Instead, it's become a season of loss. Farmers who rise before dawn and work until dark now watch their harvest pile up with nowhere to go. Their most trusted customer, China, has turned away. The silence from foreign markets is deafening. This isn't a story about bad weather or failed crops. The harvests were strong, the production was there, but the buyers disappeared overnight. The result? Warehouses filled to the brim, contracts broken, and communities across rural America struggling to stay afloat. China, once the largest buyer of U.S. agricultural goods, shut its doors, and the ripple effects have been massive. Truck drivers who used to haul grain are sitting idle. Processing plants have slowed production. Rural banks are tightening credit as more farmers fall behind on payments. Entire communities that depend on agriculture are being squeezed to the breaking point. And while all this unfolds, farmers are also battling rising fuel prices, unpredictable weather, and operating costs that keep climbing. Every missed sale, every delayed paycheck adds to a growing crisis that no crop insurance can fix. So, how deep does the damage go? And can Washington stop the bleeding before it's too late? For decades, U.S. farmers relied on stable trade with China. It wasn't perfect, but it was predictable. That predictability collapsed in early 2025 when Washington imposed new tariffs on Chinese imports, some as high as 145%. Within 6 weeks, exports to China were slashed in half. Billions of dollars in goods lost their markets overnight. In California's Central Valley, almonds once bound for cargo ships sat in warehouses. Contracts with Chinese importers were canceled without warning. At the Port of Oakland, dairy and almond exports dropped by more than 40%. These are not projections, they are hard facts. And the truth is, there's no replacement buyer big enough to fill China's role. Europe can't absorb the surplus. Southeast Asia takes only a fraction. And so, millions of tons of soybeans, milk, and corn have nowhere to go. Harvests rot. Milk is poured away. Farm debt climbs higher with each passing month. What's happening isn't isolated. It's a chain reaction spreading across the entire U.S. agricultural economy. From California's orchards to Iowa's cornfields, every container that fails to leave port sends shockwaves through local communities. Truckers haul fewer loads, factories scale back, banks tighten loans, and families who've worked the same land for generations are now being pushed to the edge. Farm organizations are now publicly pleading for Washington to strike any deal with Beijing, just to reopen trade. For many, this isn't about politics anymore. It's about survival. The roots of this crisis lie in Washington's tariff campaign, a strategy meant to punish China for unfair trade practices. But Beijing retaliated with precision. China targeted American farm goods, especially soybeans, striking directly at the rural states that politically backed the administration. Economists saw it coming. But when it happened, the scale of damage was far worse than anyone predicted. Beijing quickly adapted, replacing U.S. suppliers with South American nations like Brazil and Argentina, which moved fast to lock in new long-term trade deals. Australia ramped up beef and dairy exports. In just a few months, China had rebuilt its entire food supply chain, without America. This wasn't a temporary adjustment. It was a permanent shift, a complete rewiring of global agricultural trade. Decades of effort to open China's market were undone almost overnight. And while Washington focused on tariffs, Beijing deepened its alliances across South America, strengthening BRICS partnerships and promoting itself as a reliable global buyer. The message was clear. China no longer needs American farmers. The numbers tell the story. In 2023, Brazil shipped around 54 million tons of soybeans to China, about 3/4 of its total imports. By mid-2025, that share had surged to 90%. Once, American soybeans were the backbone of China's food security. Now, they're nearly gone from Chinese ports. The fallout for the U.S. has been devastating. Grain silos overflow. Farm prices crash. Farmers face record debt and shrinking credit. Even young farmers are reconsidering their futures, while older ones wonder if they'll retire without anyone to pass the land to. But this isn't just about farming, it's about power. Agriculture was once one of America's greatest tools of global influence. Now that influence is slipping away. China's investments in Latin America have gone far beyond food. It's financing railways, ports, oil projects, and power grids, embedding itself deeply into South American economies. These aren't just trade partnerships. They're long-term geopolitical moves designed to reshape the world's balance of power. And for many nations in South America, China is now seen as the more dependable partner, one that offers development without political strings attached. Meanwhile, American farmers are left struggling with collapsing markets and mounting losses, not because of droughts or disasters, but because of political choices. Farms that survived generations of hardship now face a man-made collapse. And if this trend continues, historians may one day see it as the moment America lost its agricultural dominance, not to nature, but to policy. So, how far will this crisis go before it becomes irreversible? Can Washington restore trade ties before it's too late? Or has the center of global agriculture already shifted for good? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss our deep dives into the stories shaping our world.